Hello students and welcome to the virtual classroom for Comp 3077 online. We are now into week 4. We're going to do the full case demo for week 4 today. I'm just going to keep the light going here. This is a motion sensor light. I just wanted you to see me in a little bit of a different environment and see that I haven't cut my hair yet. Just to add a little fun to the video. I'm just going to be in the bottom section just for the beginning until we get the spreadsheet open because I don't want to disrupt your learning in the rest of the content on the video screen. But I did want to point this out. I'm actually in one of my daughter's closets. We have this awesome recording room at the Kinlan School, right down the hall from our office that has a it's a very dead room. There's no reverb, there's no extra noise. I'm very, very picky about the audio quality through the microphone when I'm doing podcast style lectures. I wanted to get this week 4 video done. I wasn't going to be on campus before the weekend was out, so I thought, hey, what the heck, I'll find a nice room in my house to do it, and it ended up in my daughter's closet. So that shows you the length to which I am striving to have the best audio quality for you guys. So without further ado, let's get to our week 4 demonstration. We are going to talk about the SAM grace period. You're likely expired by now if you haven't purchased the key code. One of the things I want to make sure you recognize is that you should not be setting up another SAM account. Most instructors lock their sections after the first couple weeks. Just get the key code and verify your existing account and you'll pick up exactly where you left off. In fact, you can still log in and see everything. You just can't submit anything. So I'll show you that at the beginning. Then we'll do the week 4 case, which is all about charts, and more charts. Couple reminders to always be saving and always be closing your file before you submit it to SAM. So as per usual, I prefer to start back there. My Alt tab is going nuts again. In the week 4 instruction and details file, because it always tells, this is a pretty short list. In fact, this is actually going to be one of the shorter case videos. You're going to learn a lot here. A lot of you have used charts in Excel, but probably most of you have not done all the different things we're going to do to them in this case. So it's a great case. You have very minimal inputs, if any. You have some text where you might have some typos, but that's about it. We're just editing and creating different types of charts and doing lots of different things to them, changing the settings. We're going to do some what I call like micro charts where we build sort of a graphical interface or a graphical representation of data like you'd get into a chart right into a cell, which is kind of cool. And then we'll talk about and look at some more advanced type of charts. You're going to have 3% case, 1% quiz like you usually do. And don't forget to get your SAM key code. So let's get started with week 4 and let's pretend that I already know my dummy account is expired, but I have these student dummy accounts that I create so you can see the same interface that you're going to see when you watch my video. So if you're getting into week 4 at this point and you created your account sometime near the end of week 1, you're probably now expired. And that's what's going to happen with this account here. So when I go to log in, it says, hey, you need to get your SAM key code. At which point you should get your SAM key code, because if your work is due Sunday night and you can't submit it, you're not going to get credit for it. So you would then navigate back over to FOL content. If you're on campus or if you're on Fanshaw's website, we'd of course prefer that you buy the key code at the bookstore. But in content, I always use the most accessible link available, which is under required resources in the SAM software setup guidance and whatnot. It's also on the course homepage to buy your SAM key code right here at the publisher's website. Another quick note as well, students have been telling me, and this is in the fall 2022 semester. Speaking of semesters, I'm going to mention something about that right now too. They're ordering their key codes not from the bookstore website, but from the Cengage website to get SAM. And it's taking like a couple hours for the key code to come through after they pay for it. They get the receipt and then they don't get their key code, but it is coming through. So just be patient. And if you happen to buy it on the bookstore website, which I'm not going to get into per se right here, or you happen to have bought it at the bookstore, they won't give you the full 18-digit key code. They give you this shorter version of the key code on your receipt, and you have to follow these instructions here to redeem it. But most of you, if you're in the online section, are going to end up buying it here. If your access has expired, you need to do that because you will no longer be able to earn credit if you don't. Another quick note on key codes that I'll mention this one last time. If you are in this course prior to fall 2022 and you purchase SAM, you do need to purchase it again. I am very sorry about that. This is a completely different product with this full upgrade that we've done to the course. It is not the same course. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry you didn't get through the course the first time. You will this time, but you do need to purchase SAM again. And you will be able to use it for 2 semesters. Anybody who purchases it fall 2022 or later. 2 semesters. So if you don't make it through the first time, you can use it again without having to buy it. Assuming you're all set and good to go, you would be able to go in and complete your work. So if I hit enter later, funny enough, it still lets me in. But when I go to the items that I'd want to complete for marks, it says, oh, key code required. So I'm going to log out of here and I'm going to use my instructor account and just go to student view. And we're going to get the case done. But I did want to use my student, my mock student account one more time to show you what happens when it does expire and to, of course, remind you all that you do need to get that. So let's go to student view in my instructor account, and I will go to the section that I've been working in these videos for this semester. Of course, that is not likely to be the section that you're in. In fact, it's more likely not to be. If you're watching this anytime fall 2022 or later, even if you're in fall 2022, because there's so many sections. And I'm going to see what's going on for week 4. I've got the quiz and the training here. Quiz is worth 1% every week. I keep reminding people, I see a lot of my students in my labs and my face-to-face sections, they're doing the quiz first. Don't do that. The quiz is a representation of a bunch of the stuff you've learned in the case and maybe a variation of it within the same menu or something like that. We've talked about the quizzes and how they work. If you didn't watch that video in week 2, you need to do that, because in that video, I show you how to use the training to get the answers for the quiz. One more reminder, if you need to open up the training, please make sure to open up another tab and go to SAM in that other tab, and then go back to the activities and open up the training, because if you do it while you're in the same window, you're going to end up overwriting your quiz. But that's something you would do afterwards, and that has to be done by Sunday night, just like your case, but you can take it as many times as you want. You just have to get a 70 to get your passing mark, which is a full credit 1%. The case, of course, you can submit just twice, but you always should look at your report and submit for a second time. So I'm going to grab the instructions, as I always do, throw them in the downloads folder, just so it's, most of you, if you haven't changed your browser settings like I have, it will be going to downloads automatically anyway. And then I'm going to download the file there, which I've actually already done and renamed because I had started the video at one point. So this will be a good reminder to not have multiple versions of the files kicking around, like that is annoying. So I haven't started yet. I'm going to get rid of that other file I had done at a previous time. And I'm going to take the file I just downloaded. Catch up, computer. What is this thing doing? There we go. And I'm going to rename the file every week, like I do every time. Don't open it up. Don't make extra copies. Sit on the file. Change the 1 to a 2. You've renamed the file. Open it up. Open up the instructions. Start working on it. Okay, so one more reminder too, and I'll stop bringing these particular items up after week 4, but you will encounter different computers that show you the extensions, some that don't show you the extensions. It doesn't matter whether you see the extension or not, as long as you see the Excel icon, you know it's an Excel file. So you never mess with the extension. You just change the 1 to a 2 and you open the file up. I'm going to open the instructions up as well, and we're going to start working. Random emails there. Come on. I don't know where I got that from or what I was doing there. Some sort of mass email about something that I should have organized in Excel. While that stuff is opening, that one's open now. I'm going to click Enable Editing. I'm going to just jump back to our slide deck here. So we're starting into what is my computer doing? We're starting into the week 4 case here. Don't forget, always save, always close. And we've covered extensively that you should not be creating a second SAM account. If you bought SAM before the fall 2022 semester, you're going to need to buy it again. If you bought SAM fall 2022 or later, and more than 2 semesters have passed, you're going to need to buy it again. I'm sorry about this. The key is to go through a course like mine and just get through it the first time, because we hand you the keys to the kingdom by giving you the answers. And then you won't have to worry about that. So I'm going to get started on the SAM case here. And we've already renamed the file. And we are Gudrun Duplessis. That's an interesting name. Is the manager of Alanis. That's a cool last name. Duplessis. Almost sounds like a kingdom city or something. Probably because I'm thinking duplex has some, I don't know what I'm doing. Is a manager of the Alanis Parks Department. They're compiling a bunch of data. They're trying to get it to somebody in a format that's more visually enticing, visually. So they're going to do a bunch of charts. They're going to do all this stuff. So as usual, it gives you a first step. Switch to the spending worksheet. Let's do that. Now, most of the cases we've had up to this point, I'm just going to pause for 1 second and figure out why oh no, we're all good. Most of the cases we've had up to this point have had just the documentation sheet and then another worksheet where all of the work was going to be done. This time, finally, we're getting into multiple worksheets, and that's the way it's going to be probably for most of the cases from this point forward. So always pay attention to which worksheet you're on. I have had students do a bunch of work to the wrong worksheet, like several steps without even noticing it. So it's just something to watch out for. So we're on the spending worksheet. In E5 to E10, add conditional formatting. Okay, so we're going E5 to E10. Now, I made it pretty clear I love conditional formatting. This was in a previous case, and we did a very simple example of conditional formatting, which had to do with highlighting numbers that were less than something. You can do greater than, less than, within a certain range. You could highlight text that is equal to something. If you explore the conditional formatting menu a little bit, and we go in here, you'll see there's other stuff down here you can do, one of which is called data bars. So data bars will take a range and visually apply data bars. And I don't know why they're including the total there, E10. Yeah, E5 to E10, they are. We'll visually apply data bars. So that's going to be a full bar in that one because it's obviously a lot bigger. So it's going to have these totals, and they're going to give you bars like it would be in like a bar or a column chart right underneath the data inside the cell. This is actually a really neat tool. So all you have to do is highlight the cells, go to data bars, and pick the right color, and Sam will mark it right. And they want solid blue. So here we go, data bars. So solid fill, not gradient. And you're going to go with solid, that's blue. That's light blue. So solid blue right here. Boom, done. And if you're wondering why they would have included the total, it's probably to show you that the data bar operates in a way that it's, within the same range. It's going to fill that whole cell up because that's the full number. And you can always go down as usual and check to see if yours looks the same, and it does. So let's move on to the next step. So I'm going to kind of cruise through these steps fairly quickly because, as usual, you can pause, rewind, rewatch, and use the chapters that I'm not doing the best job of setting up in a timely fashion. But most of you, if you're watching these videos, at least a few days after I post them, you'll have the chapters all set up. So moving on, we are going to step 2. And for step 2, in the range F5 to F10, add lines, spark lines based on the data in B5 to E10. So data bars will come in underneath numbers that are already there. Spark lines are something that are going to be in other cells, usually adjacent to those numbers. So you put them in a range. So on the Insert tab, I'm going to highlight the range I'm going to put the lines into first. And then I'm going to choose spark lines, and then it's going to allow me to pick up the data. So this will be much more like doing a chart. So you're going to pick up a full range of data, typically with the headings as well. It depends on how you want to set it up. This particular case, you're picking up B5 to E10. So you're going to leave the headings. Actually, come to think of it, I don't really use headings too much when I do spark lines. I don't think I ever have. So then you click OK. And then you have these lines that visually represent a growth trend between these 4 years. And once you get them in there, you can choose the format, just like things that we've talked about in previous weeks where once you're into the header footer menu and you're sitting on the header footer, you have this new tab up. Once you click out of it, you lose the tab. If you want to get back to the design tab for the spark lines, just click on one of them. It'll highlight the range and you're in there. So we're on to this other tab. We're going to apply the blue accent one, darker 25% sparkline color. Okay, so 5th column, 5th row, and theme colors palette. So this would be fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th column, 5th row. It's already there. Oh, no. Darker. That's darker 5. Oh, that's why. Tricky. And I'm leaving that in the video because typically every SAM case I've done, they ask you to apply a style. And I did notice when I was reading the question, it said, apply blah, 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 color. Okay? Color to the range F. So that's going to be something people are going to get wrong if they're watching my video too quickly. You can change the style very easily. It's actually already set up with it. You can change it to this. You can change it to whatever. Leave it on the same style. Don't mess with it. But you are going to change the color. The color is to be 5th column, 5th row, and the theme colors, accent 1, darker 25%. So sitting on the spark lines, go to sparkline color. And you can also even change the marker color. 5th column, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th row. Darker, 25% blue accent 1. There it is. Boom. Done. Step 3 complete. Save your file, move on. So always pay very close attention to the wording in these SAM steps. It's not like changing the theme would have been any more difficult than changing the color, but I usually stick with themes because themes will change other things along with it, like the background and stuff. It's just a more holistic way to format something. I don't usually individually change the color, but if I had other colors going on and I wanted to line it up with the stuff in the same spreadsheet, I might do that in the same worksheet. So kind of a neat step there. Let's go on to number 4. Gudrun has created a pie chart representing the percentage of the park's budget that went to each park in 2018. Modify the chart as follows. Enter this as a title. Change the data labels so where they're located on the chart is in a different place, and take the legend right out. So instead of making you create a chart, because they know most of you have done that, this is more of an advanced chart course, they're having you edit a chart that's already created, which is something not a lot of Excel users bother to do. They just make it and let Excel make it however it's made, and they leave it. But you can change all sorts of stuff. So there is a pie chart right here. And there is a title that has nothing in it. Notice as soon as I clicked on the chart object, which is right here, I got a design tab and a format tab. As soon as I click off it, you don't have that anymore. So it's another example of how Excel is trying to keep the ribbon and the menu area as clean as possible when it doesn't need to have the extra stuff on there. If you're not dealing with the chart, you don't need the extra tabs. If you click on it, the extra tabs pop up. It doesn't mean if you click off it, they've disappeared for good. Just click back on the chart. Now the chart title, if you go to format and you go to design, I mean, there's not really any way, it's not like a table where you can change the title in there. You need to click into the text box and you can change it just like that. Okay, so it's just like typing into a text box. That's exactly what it is. Because SAM is sensitive, try not to move the title box around. Just put the text in there. In fact, one of the things you could do is take the text right out of here. Try not to add any extra spaces. Copy the text. Bring it back into the chart title box. And paste it right in there. And even after you do that, it will allow you to keep the text only so that you don't bring any formatting over, which I believe it ended up being the same anyway. As soon as you're done, you click outside the box. Here's what everybody does. They hit enter because I've been teaching everyone for weeks. As soon as you are done putting what you need into a cell, you hit enter. Notice that I said into a cell. Once you are working with other input fields in Excel, like a text box, if you hit enter, it will actually simply add a hard enter. So we need to backspace that and get that out of there. What you need to do as soon as you're done is you click out of it. The same thing goes for the function wizard and like things like we were doing with the spark lines where you had to input that stuff. If you hit enter as soon as it's in, that's entering the whole thing and you're done with it. It's not always hit enter if you need to go to another field here. So in this case, you can click your mouse on the things like OK or out of the text box once you're done. Anyway, that's it. So you put the text in there. You can type it in too if you want. You would just overtype the text that was already in there. Change the data labels to outside end. I agree with that. This looks kind of sloppy. I don't like pie charts where the data labels are right on the pie pieces. So sitting on the chart, if you go to, well, chart element will have the data labels there. And this was how you would add data labels if they didn't exist there. So you go to chart element. And if you go in there, you can change them to outside end. Now, all the things that I'm doing here, if you click on a chart, all these chart options come up over here as well, okay? So different, so legend, okay, you can do stuff to the legend, change the way it looks. You can go to the chart area, you can go to the chart title and it will highlight the chart. Well, these are just formatting options you can apply to each of these items. Additionally, if you're sitting on the chart, let me close that up. Yeah, there's quick access stuff here that comes up. Okay, so chart elements. So by going in here, you can turn things on and off. You can even choose where they are. And it's very similar to what you can do in here. Okay, but I chose, so for the data labels, okay, I just turned them off. You can also choose outside end right here. It's the same thing. Okay, but did the formatting just change when I'm showing you these examples? Yeah, it was percentage before. Wow, be careful with that. So it was preset to percentage. When I took them off and turned them back on again, it assumed I was doing full numbers, which obviously I wasn't because percentage is nicer when you're doing a pie chart. Percentage is kind of the way you think of a pie. Half the pie is gone, a quarter of the pie is gone. So if you're turning stuff on and off, be careful that you don't lose the way it was set up originally when you got the case file. I'm glad that happened too. But I'm just going to move the percentages to outside end. And there, I've done it from two different places now. So from here and from there. We have the data labels now on the outside end. Now, before we get rid of that legend, which is the next part of this step, there's one more part in there. Include the category as well as the percentage. So I've moved them to the outside end, but I didn't add that piece in there. So if I go back in here, I've moved them there, but just sit on the chart anywhere. It's fine. Go to design. I don't know how I got off the design tab. Go to data labels, outside end, more data label options, and include the category name as well. So you get, this is another area of the chart over on the right-hand side here where you can add lots of stuff. So I could have clicked on the data labels and right-clicked and got there as well. So let's deal with that legend. Last thing, remove the legend from the chart. So you can very simply click on that box and delete it. You can also go here, legend, and just go none. That's another way to do it, and you can even do that from there. So there's, as usual, there's a bunch of different ways to do stuff. This is going to be a quiz this week where there's like 5 or 6 ways to do things when you get into the quiz details. All right, save your file, Control S, let's keep going. Gutterin would also like a pie chart representing the percentage of the park's budget that would go to each park. So now we're going to create one. Ah, cool, we get to make one. Okay, so create a 2D pie chart based on the data in E5 to E9 and using the category labels A5 to A9. So don't worry about highlighting that stuff first. You can highlight it first if you want to. You can also just click anywhere in the workbook, go to Insert, go to, well, you could go Recommended Charts, but I haven't highlighted the data. You can go here to Pie, and you can then go and add the data after. Now, this isn't necessarily the way I would recommend doing it, because then you have to make sure you put the right data in the right place. So while you don't have to highlight it first, and I wanted to show you that example, it is often, and you can just remove that, it is often better to highlight the stuff and see if Excel immediately knows where it's supposed to go, which 99% of the time it will. So create a pie chart. You're going to use E5 to E9 and A5 to A9. So E5 to E9 is right here without the total, E5 to E9, and then A5 to A9 are these labels. So we're just doing a 2021 highlight chart. Now, as soon as I highlight this, it unhighlights the other. But we already learned in the previous case, highlight one, hold down the control key on your keyboard, and then pick up the other. Or you can put each range in the name box and just hit enter, separated by a comma. So once you have that highlighted, now if I go to insert and I go here and I go to 2D Pie, which is the first option there, it did know exactly where to put this, but it chose its own options. So it gave me a blank chart title called chart title. It gave me the pie pieces set up down there in the legend. We can change all this stuff around if we want. Let's see what Sam calls for. Resize and reposition the chart so that the upper left corner is located within the cell G21, lower right is 039. So you're going to run into this a lot now through the rest of the semester where you're going to have to put in an object into a spreadsheet and then size it up in a way that Sam is going to mark it correct. So it's very, very sensitive and you have to be very careful. So the upper left corner is what you always do first. And when you do it, you want to make sure that the corner of whatever the object is, in this case it's being a chart box, is not touching the border. You don't line it up right into the grid lines. You have to have it within the white space of the cell. So we're going to take the we're going to take the left corner and we're going to place it into G21. So G is there, 21 is the row right after. So you can pretty much just line it right up with the chart above it, but don't put it all the way over here and sitting on the line. Sam will mark it wrong. I know that's frustrating because in the real world, that really wouldn't be wrong, although I would align it with the other one. So get that in the left corner first, then drag your right one down. So you're dragging your right one down so it's in 039. So if you highlight 039 like that, that gives you an idea of where you're going to go to, because there's O, and there's row 39. So I highlighted row 39, not 039. So I'm going to go down into that and be in the white space and then highlight row 39 again. Oops, I only went to 38. See why it's good to know exactly where you are? So get it in the white space. As long as you're not touching the grid lines, it will mark it correct. It doesn't have to be precisely the same exact width, although I would make it that just because it would look better. But even if I leave it a little shorter, you'll see at the end when I go mark it, it will mark it right because it's not touching the grid lines. Okay, so that part's done. We are now going to enter a title. So let's do the same thing we did last time. Let's grab this with no extra spaces. If you do end up getting an extra space, you can just get rid of it after. Paste it right in there. What are we going to do? We got to hit enter? No, we're going to click outside the box. And that doesn't look as dark as it could maybe. No, it's... Yeah, okay, so that time the formatting was different. And it didn't say to change the formatting. So I'm going to keep the text only and accept the formatting that they have there because they haven't yet told us how to format it, nor did they. So we just leave it. And you saw how I did that. Instead of leaving it, and because they didn't tell you to format it, it would probably mark it right even though you left the formatting the same. But when you're doing projects in a platform called SAM, it is a best practice not to do anything it doesn't say to do. And it just reminds you that when you copy and paste something, you get that nice little thing where it gives you the option to leave the formatting the same or just keep the text only. So, and click outside the box when you're done. Done. Apply style 3 to the chart. So this is a style, not a color. So we get to go to the design tab, which we're already on because we're sitting on the chart box. And we go down here and we choose style 3, which is probably the third one over. And it is. And lo and behold, it matches the other one. Okay, well, sort of. Not quite. Let's do some more stuff to match it up. No, it didn't say to do anything else. I figured they would have made you move those to the outside end and get rid of the legend like you did on the above one, but they're leaving it the same. And if you're confused about that or you're not sure and you're second guessing it, go down, look at the picture. Looks right to me. Let's move on. There's something down here with a column chart that we're probably going to be messing around with. And I'm sure we are. We are going to number 7. No, we're not. We're just leaving that. Gudrun wants a stacked bar chart showing spending per year for each year. And that's why there's that space there. I bet without even reading ahead, probably because I did these this summer too, I bet we're going to move these around a bit and yeah, let's see what happens here. Create a stacked bar chart on the data in the range A4 to E9. Resize and reposition the chart so that the upper left corner is located within the cell. So highlight E4 to E9. This is data we can highlight without having to be non-adjacent ranges. And I keep saying E4. It's A4 to E9. I think I said E4. A4, 8, scroll over. A4 over to E, down to 9. Don't be that student that picks up the totals. Pay attention to the ranges, because if you pick up the totals, then you do have to go back in and edit. Here, let's do that by mistake here. Okay, let's go to Insert. And if you go to Recommended Charts, it's usually going to know what you want. And remember again that I've deliberately highlighted this one extra row within the range, just to show you how easily you can fix the chosen data for a chart after you make the chart, the same way I showed you that you could make the chart blank and then add the data after and do it the other way around. So from here, how do I get off the Insert tab? As I said, you could choose the Recommended Charts button if you don't see the chart you want. We want actually stacked bar, I believe it was. So it's not column, it's going to be horizontal. So bar charts are horizontal, column charts are vertical. So stacked bar. So I don't actually see bar even as an option here, which means the best choice is to go to Recommended Charts, and then it will give you like a list of your options. Typically what you want, based on what you highlighted, is pretty close to the top. In this case, it's actually 5 down. So if you hover over it and click on it, it actually doesn't tell you what it is when you hover over. You got to click on it first. And then it does indicate this is the stacked bar. And I know that because I know what it looks like. We are doing a SAM case. I mean, you can kind of choose what you feel is the most appropriate for the type of data you're doing. But if you would have scrolled down, you would have seen about what the chart looks like. So you can see, and if you zoom in a bit, you can see the chart here has the 5 different categories. I've picked up the total by accident, and I'm going to click OK and make the chart. So the chart's here, I've made the chart, and then I'm like, oh no, I grabbed too much data. It's actually not that hard to fix. If you're on the Design tab, you can go right here to Select Data, and you could see that the legend entries on the, this would be on the row side, are here. These are the columns. They're here, and if you scroll down a little bit more right here, you can uninclude, is that a word? You can choose to not include the total, click OK, and you have fixed the chart. Or you could just highlight the correct range, which would have been this right here without row 10, and it would have been right the whole time. So funny thing, even though I've just rectified my making the mistake of accidentally, or on purpose, as you know I did, highlighting that extra row, and then going in here into the chart options and going select data and unselecting the total row, I haven't fixed enough for Sam to mark it correct, because Sam said your range should be this. And you could see just by highlighting that, I fixed that up there, because before I did that, it was still, even unselecting the total row, which now if I unselect it, it still says E10, which means Sam is still going to mark it wrong. So I'm trying to show you an example of something that isn't in the case and how to set your data afterwards instead of beforehand. But if you did decide to do that with me, you need to make sure that you make that E9 and not E10. And now we'll get the chart positioned, and we're going to do a bunch of quick fixing like we did with the other charts. So we're repeating a lot of similar steps in this case, and that's good because it gives you good practice on kind of not just putting stuff in there and leaving this default title or going in and deleting it. You can click on the text box and just delete it if you want. I'm going to undo that. So we are going to go into the title, and we're going to replace it with the proper text just like before, which if we go back to step 8, actually now we're on step 8. Oh, I still haven't done the resizing. I should do that right away. Don't skip parts of steps. I always stick step by step here, and that's the way I like to do it in the videos to show you guys how to get 100. So resize and reposition the chart. So the upper left corner is located within the cell 11. So always do the left corner first, and that's the order they give it to you in too. And you know, you can have it over here, you can have it over here, as long as it's not touching the grid lines on the borders of the cell. So do the first one, and then last time I had shown you, like F39 is down here, so you can highlight row 39 to approximately see where we're going to go. You can see column F here. The better way to do it is just to grab the chart object itself, and as you're dragging it, you can see the line, how it's hovering in column F, so you know you're in column F, and then you can go down, and then you know you're in row 39, and you get it so it's not touching the grid line, so it's in the white space of the cell, and Sam will mark it right. Over here, just don't be out here touching the grid line, and then you won't get it incorrect. So I've got that done. And then I can move on to step 8. So enter this title right here, part A, step 8, spending per park 2018 to 2021. And try and get it highlighted without extra spaces. Then you can paste it right in. And you can see that's bold, and the text in there wasn't bold. So you can choose to just take the text only, and it won't take any formatting. Click outside the box. And again, given that Sam isn't saying anything about the formatting, you probably wouldn't get it wrong anyway, but I always think it's just, to play it safe. Now, this is getting into some stuff people never bother with. So change the maximum value of the horizontal axis to 2300. So if you look at this, you could see now it goes to 2500. However, nothing goes that high. It's just the automatic setting that Excel gave it for the chart. So if you bring it down to 2300, it will allow all these other stacked bars to fill the space better because the range won't be so big. So sitting anywhere on the chart, if you just click on the chart, you could say, I'm in the format chart area right now, and I have the chart options expanded, which I was clicking to show you all the different things you can go into from here. So, and I can go directly to the axes, and it will give you axis options. And you can right click on them. You can go to them from here. So if I click on that, I can right click and I can format axis, but the stuff is already up here to a degree. The different formatting you can do when you right click and go to format axis, it gives you the different options of the axis itself, which is what you're supposed to adjust here. And this is interesting because I don't think in SAM cases or in most numbers that I work with in Excel on a frequent basis, I'm well into the millions. I am with real estate quite often, actually, and I guess I should admit that this is something that I should use more often, where I'm trying to basically downsize the chart plot area to better use the space with the data. I'm noticing here they're actually using scientific notation. And again, I do these cases in the summer. I tend to forget some of this stuff pretty quickly. This is pretty cool. I don't know if your Macs would do the same thing. I'm on a PC, but 2.5 E6 is saying 2.5 going out with basically 6 thousandths. So it would be 2.5 million. I haven't seen scientific. So I did, once I noticed that, I paused the video and I just Googled the page. It's like a scientific number conversion. So 2.5 E6 is simply 2.5 million. You have, your 2.5 with the 6,000 decimal places drawn out to the right. It's pretty easy to kind of convert. If you want 2.3 million, you just change that to 2.3 E6 and hit enter. And then what you've done is you've downsized the range for the horizontal axis, which then, as I predicted, better allows the data to fill the space. I wonder if you type the whole number out. Yeah, it just converts right to scientific. So it's not like you had to understand the scientific conversion. If it was back at, here, we can hit reset to get it back to what Excel wanted to put it at, standard. And then I can type out 2,300,000. And it just converts it to scientific. And that is the second part of step 8. Moving on to the third part of step 8, apply a shape fill of white background. So this was done previously with a theme. We just changed the theme of one of the pie charts to get it to look like the other one. This time we're actually going to use a different tool to show how many different things you can do to the chart. So you can literally just change the background color of the shape. And we're doing that to the whole chart area. So notice that there's lots of you can change just the formatting of the chart plot area. You can change the formatting You can change the background just to the legend. Like if I wanted to go in here, and I think this might be a later step, like shape fill, background color. See how it's changing? See that? Let's go with a more of a Halloween type of color here. Not so good if you're watching this in the winter, but whatever. Halloween's cool all the time. So, but that's not what we're doing right now. In fact, we're just changing the shape fill of the chart area. So click only on the chart area. Just click on the white space around these objects. Go to shape fill for the chart area, and our color is to be white, background 1, darker 5%, first column, second row. I think we use this in another case for some of the cell fill color. First column, second row right there. And it's a bit of a lighter gray. This is more of a gradient, the theme that we picked here. See how it gets light in the middle, which is kind of cool. So that's just a bit of a lighter gray, and then that's it for step 8. We made a nice stacked bar chart. I like bar charts, the ones that go out horizontal. I think it allows you to get a nice visual on data because it is the way our brains read from left to right. That's just a theory I have. You're not going to be tested on that. You're going to be tested on the skills I just taught you on how to change the area of a chart. So we're probably now going to go down to this chart, which is this park spending 2018-2021, and change some stuff for that. First, we're going to move this chart to the projection. Oh man, should I cut and paste that? Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but there's an easier way. Notice how as we've been working on these charts, each chart you click on it, you get all these options up here. As soon as you click into a regular cell, you don't have the options. So I'm going to click on here, and sitting on that chart, if I go to design, I'm going to look around and I'm going to kind of comb the ribbon area, and all of a sudden at the end, I see this button that says Move Chart. I'm going to click on that. Cool. Move Chart. You can make a new sheet. You can make the chart all its own sheet, which is kind of cool. Then it fills up the whole space of the sheet. Or you can move it as an object to, which worksheet? The projection worksheet. So we simply change this to projection. Click OK. Now we have a chart that we already made with data on the other, and it put it in the same place actually. You had to scroll down a bit. So don't freak out if you get to the chart and it's not there. And I knew it was going to do that. It always puts the chart in the same location it was in the other chart, unless I believe that there's something already there, it will put it below it in the soonest possible area. So it puts it down here because from the sheet we were on, that's where it was. Okay, it was down there in row 40. So going back to the projection sheet, once we move it, we are going to resize and reposition the chart. So left is in A4, lower is in K22. We've done this several times now, so it shouldn't be too hard. First, you position the left corner. Let's get it up to A4, kind of right around there. Don't touch the edges, as I keep saying. And then the right is in K22. So we're already in K. That was handy. Just go down to 22. Get it in the white space. That is the end of step 9. For this chart, we are going to, nope, this is a different one. This is 2018-2021 combo chart. So combination charts are pretty cool. Update the chart as follows. Apply the monochromatic palette for scheme, color scheme. So did they tell us to switch worksheets here? Oh, this is the combo chart. I didn't even look at the chart data yet. So it's a combination chart because you're basically putting multiple charts into one. So you have a bunch of column charts, one for each year, and they're all in one chart. And we are going to change the color scheme of the chart, which makes the most sense because we were already on that chart. Chart styles, chart colors, monochromatic. So again, the chart styles are really cool. I mean, I always like the darker backgrounds. I think it makes stuff stand out a lot. And if you hit the drop down, you can see there's not that many here. They don't even have enough to drop down. So that was kind of cool, actually. Shoot, which one was it on? Well, if you just keep undoing. There. Okay, good. I'm back to where, no, I clicked on something else there. Let's undo right back to the move, because then I know. So now, once I undid to the move, then I know I undid to where it was. Again, a lot of times in my videos, I will be experimenting with stuff and showing you guys different things you can do. It doesn't mean you have to do exactly that. Always follow the steps at the end of the day. monochromatic palette 4 color scheme. So it does not say style. I was just showing you styles. It says colors. So that would be under change colors. If you go into format, that more has to do with the lettering and the text and height and width and stuff like that. So the color scheme is here. It's monochromatic and it's palette 4. So hover over these. Okay, that's palette 1, 2, 3, 4. That's somewhat pleasing. Goes with the background colors they already had in the top 2 rows. It's ridiculous how into this crap I am. That's somewhat pleasing. Jeez. Add a secondary axis for the total series. Okay, so this gets into one of the things I haven't mentioned yet, which is really important when you're working with charts, is when you want to do something specific to a specific part of the chart, the best thing you can do is click on that part. So if I want to change like the plot area, I can click on the plot area. You can see it highlights all that. If I want to change this axis, I click on that axis. If I want to do something with the total series, which is the smallest line here, I click on the total series, and most of the stuff you're going to find is you're going to find it if you right click. So if I go into Format Data Series, it says Plot Series on the primary axis or put it on a secondary axis. So what this does is when you check that, it opens up the data to show the numbers for the years in their own forum, so to speak, with the left axis, and then the secondary axis for the total becomes its own thing, and it doesn't spread. It's the same thing we did in the last set of steps where we were trying to better use the plot area. It's just another way to do that. And this is something that people would never think to do. And if I undo that, you could see how silly this looks. Like, the reason this is like this is because for both the annual data and the total at the end of the year of each of those years, we're using the same scale. If we right click on that and go to Format Data Series and then choose to make it on its own scale, then it has those numbers here that it's operating off, and the annual data gets to be better placed in a smaller scale. So it's pretty cool. Save your changes. You've done a bunch of stuff now. And I hope you saw how I did that. That's the easiest way to do that. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere but I mean, the chart elements are already there. The best way there's your secondary axis. So now there's a secondary axis on there. Secondary horizontal, we don't need that. So there's lots of stuff you can do here. Moving on to step 9. No, we're way past that. What am I talking about? Oh, no, we're not way past it. We just did step 10. Moving on to part C of step 10. Add axis title to the chart. So spending per park as the left vertical title. Total spending as the right vertical title. So you can copy this. You could type it, whatever. Oh, my God. What is wrong with my right clicking here? Copy. Notice they're doing a lot of different stuff here with capital and small letters. Sam loves to do that to see how much attention you're paying. And that is for the left axis title, which makes sense. It's per park. So we can go to Format, right click on the axis. And then if you go to Format Axis, or I don't think there's a specific thing there for title. Number, labels. Yeah, so that's probably not typically axis titles right there. Yeah. I was just checking to see if you could do it that way, because I just went on about how right clicking is the best way, but it's not always going to get you to everything. So primary vertical is that one. And then it is vertical. I'm going to paste that right in there. Make sure there's no extra spaces. You can go down here and choose to do text only and click right out of it. I think on a Mac, it'll actually put it horizontal for you. On a PC, you got to kind of look sideways if you're typing it, which is why it's always better to cut and paste. So again, I tried to right click, and I could have sworn I remember there was a way to do it through right clicking. Format axis. I thought there was something in here. because that's always the way I do it, is from here in the chart element. Whenever you're on an axis, you can go to but you can get to the axis title options. In fact, if you go to more title options, which a quiz might make you do, it brings up the bottom one automatically. And then you got to get rid of that. So it is easier. You don't even have to click on them. You can be anywhere on the chart just to choose which axis you want. So secondary vertical. And that one's going to be total spending. I guess we could type that one in just to show you can type sideways. Now I'm looking at it sideways to make sure I don't have typos. I don't. No extra spaces. Click outside. But clicking on the axes themselves, and I don't think that, I'm just so used to finding everything with right click. For some reason, I thought it was in there, but oh, wait a minute. No, it's not in there. So right clicking isn't always going to get you there, but it definitely did for adding the axis to the total set of data. And now we are done with step 10. So we only got a few left here. This is not a long case, as I mentioned, but it is a good case because you're doing all sorts of stuff to charts you probably never did before. Let's wrap it up. Gudrun wants to compare future payments for 3 different scenarios for the park's bond offering. Switch to the bond offering worksheet. Let's go do that. Bond offering. And she already entered formulas in the range B9 to D10 to calculate the quarterly and annual payments for each option. In the range E9, add column sparkline. So we're getting into a bit of financial stuff in this case, which I do like. We'll get into more of the financial stuff right after test 1. But that obviously is a major avenue and a big use for Excel. And I like this case because without getting into the financial functions just yet, it's showing you how easily you can kind of demonstrate some of these features with charts. In the range E9 to E10, add column sparklines. So we've done sparklines. We haven't done column sparklines. Using the data, B9 to D10. So let's do it the same way we did at the beginning of the case. Let's go E9 and 10. And let's go insert, column, sparkline. So the whole sparkline menu here in the ribbon, the whole section, that category on the ribbon, section, sector, or whatever you want to call it. They do have a few different types of sparklines. This is another one we're going to try out. I might even put that third type on the quiz. Let's go back to the instructions they want us to use for the data, which would make sense, B9 to D10. So sitting in the data field, we're going to go B9 down to D, over to D, down to 10. And you click OK. And you've got some sparklines. Shit's getting expensive there. And did I just swear in my video? I don't think I did. She has entered formulas to calculate the quarterly payments. So yeah, that's what I was getting at, is that there's payment functions in here. And I might as well pull one of these up to do kind of a precursor to week 7. So a payment function will take an interest rate. It will take the number of payment periods, and it will take a present value of what you're doing on a loan. And it will calculate what your payment's going to be. That's fairly complicated math. So to have Excel do it for you is pretty cool. But you're not actually being tested on this in this case or on test 1, for example. But it's just kind of giving you a nice sort of preview of some of the many, many financial functions that are available in the formulas tab here, like a lot. It's awesome. So, but here we're just doing some sparklines. So we put the sparklines in, and once you do the sparklines, you're going to ungroup them and then set the vertical axis maximum value to. So we're going to set the value differences to kind of even things out a bit. Ungrouping. So every time you do sparklines, they're in sort of a group together. See, as soon as I click on one, they're both highlighted. Right clicking again is the key to the kingdom. If you right click and go to sparklines, you can ungroup right from here. Now, I'm sure you can also do that under the, just like a chart object, when you have spark lines and you sit on them, you have a design tab too. And actually, I don't know if you could have ungrouped here. I don't see it anywhere. But there's always multiple places where this stuff is. I'm just always showing you the easiest way. So now with the two of them ungrouped, you're going to try once again to use the space a little better. And clearly there's a big range here. So if you sit on that spark line and go to axis and you change the maximum, instead of 0, you can make it negative 15,000. Then that one at the left won't be so freaking tiny. See? Just like that. And that was actually the second part of that step, is to ungroup, set the vertical axis maximum to negative 15,000, and then to negative 60,000 for E10. So go to the next one, same thing. Axis, I'm in the design tab. I will lose that if I click off it, but that's fine. You click back on there. You got the design tab. Custom value for maximum, we're going to negative 60K. Fills it in a little more nicely. And that was step 11. Save your file. Always be saving. Godrun wants a clustered column chart comparing the cost of the bond options. Create a clustered column chart based on the values in A9 to D10. So as I showed you near the beginning of the case, you can do this after, but it's always easier to highlight the data first. So I'm going to highlight A9 to D10. And not 11. And, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my mouse tonight? Going to insert, clustered column, insert column or bar. It's going to be, I mean, this would have been the other way to go into the bar chart. It's just you don't see it right on the menu. So 3D column, that's clustered, I think, stacked. That's clustered, the first option. Of course it is. So that's my clustered column chart. It's interesting the way it's coming up because the numbers are negative. It's kind of cool the way Excel knows to do that. So I'm going to do this, A9 to D10. It's highlighted, go in here. First choice is actually clustered column. Doesn't say 3D, so you always just go with 2D. Don't start doing extra stuff Sam doesn't say to do. Resize and reposition, we're going A11 left corner, right corner D28. So bring this over to A11, put it somewhere in there. Slide this into D a little more. You're kind of already in there. You're barely having to do much here. Into D28, don't touch the grid lines. You know that's bad. Title, so lots of repetitive stuff here, which is good because lots of stuff that you guys probably haven't done before. So we're going to make you do it a bunch of times. I think my mouse needs a new battery. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm just going to use my keyboard shortcut. Control C, that we reviewed in week 1. Go into the chart title, Control V. Paste, whatever, I missed it. But that, I'm sure Sam isn't going to mark me wrong. I missed removing the formatting, but that'll be a nice test if I end up putting it in there and I get it wrong. Of course, I'll grade it in the video like I always do. Copy. Oh, add data labels. I don't need to copy that. I'm just adding data labels. Add data labels to the chart. So sitting anywhere on the chart, you can go here, go to data labels. And did they tell you which ones they want? They just say add data labels. That's interesting. So I don't want to have to submit it twice if I don't have to. Let's go down and see what the picture looks like. Those look like data labels on the bottom of the columns. So what might that be? Data labels, tables, data labels. I think it's the outside end. Sure looks like it. And maybe because they already told you to use outside end when you first moved data labels at the beginning, up here in part B of step 2, odds are they might let you choose any data labels you want. When Sam doesn't specify something, they're often allowing you to be a bit creative. But I'm going to stick with the graphic direction here, which is showing outside end. And that actually is my final step. I'm going to save the file. I'm going to close the file, and we're going to submit it for 100% because that's what I show you in these videos every week. So let's go check it out. Back to Sam. I can drag and drop, of course, too. I don't have to go into my... Why is my computer so slow tonight? Fanshawe needs to buy me a new computer. I'm kidding. I'm very happy with the resources the Fanshawe College provides me. They are excellent. Submit for mark. Always look at your grade report every week. I'm still seeing a bunch of you, you're getting like 70s and 80s and you're just leaving it. I know that's not bad, but if I give you 2 submissions and you do get another submission, 1 of 2 submissions, why would you not look at your grade report and fix it? So let's see how we did. Come on, come on. Come on. There you go. So we got a hundo P here. Now, if you don't have 100, as usual, every week it will tell you exactly what you did wrong. You can go back, open the original file, fix that, save it, submit it again for a better mark. And that's what I'm hoping. So here we go. We got 100%, and that's great. We got all the steps correct, 100% in this video. That shows you how to get 100%. But if you didn't get 100%, as per usual, you would go back, figure out in the report file here, it will have a little X next to what you got wrong. You're getting used to this now every week. You go back to the original file, fix that, submit it again for a better mark. Why the heck wouldn't you? That's it for week 4. We will see you in week 5. We got a test 2 weeks away. So start thinking about that. You can go ahead and FOL content and look at what's going to be on it. And we'll see you next week.